Hello and welcome to MLB The Show 22, where we are finally starting our realistic franchise mode with the Oakland Athletics. And again, realistic franchise mode, this isn't something where we rebuild a team and simulate over one episode. This is going to be big. Now, before we get into the roster, we did make a few signings. Mike Foltynewicz, Johnny Cueto, Todd Frazier, Pedro Strop, Pablo Sandoval, and Joe Panik, all of which will be making impacts on the roster. So here's a look at our roster, and as you can see in the bottom left corner, overall we are ranked 30th with team salaries at $78.38 million, which is not a lot, especially for MLB The Show, where contracts are a bit more than they would be in real life. Now, everyone with that kind of blue money symbol next to their name, that means their contract's expiring. So yeah, we have a lot, and I mean a lot, of expiring deals in our roster, which will be interesting to see how we do with that this season. Now let's get into some of the more interesting players on the roster. First up, it's Sean Murphy, the catcher. He might honestly be the best player on the roster at 27 years old. He's got real solid pop for a catcher, really good defensively, won a Gold Glove last year. His contact, though, not great, especially against lefties, where we'll actually have Vogt play catcher Stephen Vogt against lefties to try to build up his trade value for the deadline. But the best thing about Sean Murphy is that he is very team controllable, and with Oakland, that is a major plus. And speaking of Stephen Vogt, I mean, he's 37 years old, but he's still a good hitter, especially against lefties, even as a lefty, and we're going to try to get as much as we can for him at the deadline. Now, when trading Matt Olson, the two main pieces of the deal were Shea Langeliers and this man right here, Christian Pache. Now, Pache, he cannot hit very well at all, but he is very, very good in the field, and he's very young too. And having a good defensive center fielder is valuable, especially in the vast outfield of the Oakland Coliseum, and I think we can develop him as the premier center fielder of the future and have him sit for a bit behind Laureano. Final player for this part of the video is going to be Stephen Piscotty. There was a time where he was looked at as one of the future stars of baseball, but that time has passed. He has struggled mightily over the last few years and is in a contract season, and you can see his potential is low. So we'll need a big year from Stephen Piscotty out of the DH position to bring him back at all. The next guy is Ramon Laureano, and in this series, we're not going to have guys that are injured in real life be injured here because it's just a whole hassle with all the CPU teams. But Laureano is very interesting because he's not what he was a few years ago with the bat. I don't think he will ever be that way again, and he struggles against righties a lot. Like, he is very rough against righties when it comes to his contact hitting. So I don't know what we'll get from Laureano. I'm hoping for the best, but if he does struggle, we do have Christian Pache at center. So Laureano, he has a guy lurking right behind him. This part of the video is where we quickly go over a few guys that are in the minors right now but could come up. The first is Austin Pruitt. He's 32 years old. He's not great. He does have a good amount of stamina for a reliever, and I could definitely see him coming up to the bigs sometime during the season. Sheldon Neuse is up next. He's a guy that's been in and out of the organization over the last few years. He has really solid contact and not bad power at all. The issue is that he cannot walk and he strikes out a lot. So right now we have him down in AAA, but again, he's a guy that could definitely come up. Logan Davidson is a shortstop for us in AAA right now, and he will definitely be up sometime this year because you look at our roster, Elvis Andres, he's our starting shortstop. His contract's up by the end of the year. We're going to trade him by the deadline, and who knows how Joe Panik will do. We know definitely one of them will be off the roster, and Logan Davidson, he will for sure be up probably around the trade deadline. The next guy is really interesting. It's Robert Paulson. He's only 19 years old. He won't be up this year. So I guess I am kind of breaking the rules. But just the fact that he's this young and this high overall, he's got solid contact. He's a great fielder. He will have a prospect spotlight. Might be the first one. Or it'll be Shea Langeliers, who we'll get to next. But yeah, just crazy. The final player we have for this part of the episode is Shea Langeliers, the other part of the massive Matt Olson trade. And Langeliers, he's not going to start the season up. We're going to start him down in AAA. I don't think his bat's ready, and we already have 2 solid catchers, one really good, one really solid catcher up in the big. So we'll call up Langoliers when Vogue is out. He will definitely be up by the end of the year, so no need to fear. I know he's 24. I know that you don't want to waste him, but he'll be up this season. Don't worry. Our manager this year is Mark Kotsay. The staff's not great, and we'll probably be changing it this offseason. I don't know, maybe we'll let Kotsay stay for a few years, just out of realism. The opening day roster goes as follows. Starting with the pitching staff, our ace is Frankie Montas. Then behind him will be Johnny Cueto, James Caprilli, and Cole Irving, and Brett Honeywell. Then in the bullpen, we got Pedro Strop closing, Sam Selman, Adam Kolarek, Paul Blackburn, AJ Pook, Lou Trevino, Diolis Guerra, and Mike Foltynewicz rounding it out. For the lineups, it goes as follows against righties: Elvis Andrus, Sean Murphy, Tony Kemp, Seth Brown, Ramon Laureano, Stephen Piscotty, Pablo Sandoval at third base, Chad Pinder, and Todd Frazier at first. Backing up will be Joe Panic, Christian Pache, Stephen Vogue, and Billy McKinney. And against lefties, it goes Ramon Laureano, Pablo Sandoval, Tony Kemp, Todd Frazier, Seth Brown, Stephen Piscotty at DH, Chad Pinder at left field, Stephen Vogue, catcher, Elvis Andrus at shortstop, rounding it out with Sean Murphy as a backup. Of course, with the universal DH, we don't have to worry about the no DH lineups, so those will be the 2 lineups we carry out to start the season. That'll do it for today's episode. I'm CJ Ambrose telling you that next episode will be opening day of the 2022 season.